We're cutting 3 big holes in the boat this week.
My name is Matt. Follow along as I turn Duracell, the legendary ocean racing sailboat, into a comfortable cruising home.
We're cutting 3 big holes in the boat so that I can build probably the fanciest hatch I'll ever build.
We are gaining access to what will become the systems compartment in the boat, which is the most aft enclosed space in the boat, shown here. Last year, I removed the old deck hatch and sealed off the deck that accessed this space to build the cockpit benches. And this past winter, I glassed over the last remaining hatch from inside the boat that accessed this space. So it's been closed off now for more than 6 months, and it's time to get back in. I'm going to go in first via the starboard side quarter berth, or what I'm now calling the kids' room. I cut myself a template that I was hoping to use to route the door out with, but there wasn't enough space for the router, so I just used the template to trace the shape onto the bulkhead and used my Sawzall and multi-tool to cut out the door. I would like this bulkhead to be watertight, so later I'll add a flange to this door and make it a watertight hatch.
You know by now that I am not a woodworker, but when it comes to beautifying the interior of Duracell, there will be plenty of woodwork to do and skills that I need to learn. And that's why I'm really excited that the Woodworkers Guild of America is sponsoring this episode. Now I have a membership. The Woodworkers Guild of America is an online resource for woodworking, instruction, ideas, and information. We think you DIYers will be interested in step-by-step videos on how to build a boat, and also smaller projects like adjustable shelves or a chessboard. There is truly something for everyone. I've already watched a video on how to calibrate my table saw, which was extremely helpful, and I'm really looking forward to their series on cabinetry so I can build really nice quality cabinets in the Gallia Duracell. The first 1,000 subscribers to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to the Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49. That's an excellent deal. And of course, we want to thank the Woodworkers Guild of America for sponsoring this episode. We really believe that this is a valuable resource that you, our viewers, could use. I've got the hole cut in the kids' room, or the starboard side quarter berth, that accesses this system space that's underneath the cockpit. The next thing to do is to cut out this big rudder trunk that is here. This was here as like a emergency rudder. I think it was also a tracking foil, kind of a trim tab scenario. It stood up about, this high, and then whenever they needed it, they would just slide it down into the deck, and like I said, it's just like a rudder. It's taking up a lot of space, and it is specifically right where we're planning on putting an engine. So I'm going to cut the whole thing out. I would like to cut it out all in one piece because I do have an idea for what I'd like to use it for in the future. So I'm going to try and cut it out from underneath the deck, all in one piece, and hopefully it fits out the door that I just cut out yesterday. It's a big part, and it's probably really thick fiberglass. It's going to be a big, messy job, and so we'll see how it goes. The whole point is I need to make a hatch in the sole of the cockpit right here, so that we can fit an engine in, and so people can access the systems room from the cockpit. Big messy project is upcoming.
It's important to suit up when working with dirty fiberglass jobs. Even the videographer has to suit up. Is that right, honey?
That's right.
I always get nervous before you cut a big hole in the boat. I don't know, I get attached to the way things are or something. Like, it's really hard for me to see you cut a big hole in the beautiful cockpit sole. But you, on the other hand, seem unafraid of taking your hacksaw to the boat. Maybe you even enjoy it?
I'm only unafraid because I've been thinking about these holes that I'm cutting for a very long time, and I have a plan for these holes to be fixed. And so I once was scared, now I'm not because I have a plan. If I was just cutting holes in the boat, I'd be much more I'd be second guessing myself a lot more. But no, these holes I'm not afraid of.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know probably more than anyone how many hours of planning you put into every single hole that you cut in the boat. But even so, I still get nervous every time you get out your saw.
Yeah, it is a bummer to cut big holes in places that don't look like they need them, but I think they'll be even better when they're done.
Yeah, and at the end, I'm always like, oh, I see his vision now, and this is a definite improvement to the boat. So I'm sure that will be the case with this project too.
Alright, I've cut this thing through. One problem I foresee is that it's actually cored like this far below the deck all the way down to the pole. And so it's wider, lower. And so I had to cut the hole out a bit bigger than the rest of it. So hopefully it will come out. It might get stuck, is what I'm trying to say. So, and I might have to cut the hole a bit bigger. So I just need like 3 minutes, and then I can make this a little bit bigger right here. I'm just gonna make this trailing edge a little bit wider here. Look at that! No, you gotta look at the
I'm looking at
thing.
you, honey. You look,
Look at this.
wow.
This is a giant rudder cassette. So this was, I suspect that this was supporting the deck a bit, the cockpit sole. So I have a couple posts in there under the deck that are just 2x4s that I installed just to make sure that the deck doesn't, like, you know, flex down some when we're walking around here. But yeah, pretty cool.
Now we have a gaping hole in our deck.
Yep. Before I can cut the big hole, I gotta fix the weird small hole. And so what I would like to do is vacuum bag a couple layers over the top. But before I do that, I'm gonna just glue in these pieces that I cut that are going to make the new core.
I have about 1 million scrap pieces of glass that I use to fill holes like this one.
Underneath, I've got this caul plate, which is just kind of a backing plate to hold these pieces in place. These will go in there. All I'm gonna do is just fill the gap, glue these in with my Fixo Fast Cure, and then later today I'll be able to come back and vacuum bag a couple layers over the top. I'm gluing it in first before vacuum bagging it because the vacuum could kind of suck the fiberglass down into the gap around the new piece that's going in. So if I put the glue in, it will seal that edge up.
Once the deck was fixed, I could move on to cutting it up again, and I drew out the shape of the hatch on the cockpit sole. The hatch had to be far enough aft to not interfere with the doghouse door, and I made it wide and long enough to fit a 100 horsepower engine. I'm not planning on an engine that big, but I like the extra room.
So I've drawn out the shape of the hatch that we're going to be installing here. This hatch is going to be for a couple things. It's regular access into the systems room in case I want to dive in there and get some work done real quick. It's also for getting an engine in and out of this space. The engine's going to be right underneath where I'm standing or sitting right here. And so it has to be big enough that we can fit an engine through. I was thinking about originally actually building two hatches. One would be semi-permanent, like we could close it up with some sealant and leave it closed, and the other one would be smaller. But Yanni convinced me to just build one hatch, which makes a lot more sense. It's bigger, it'll be easy to dive down in there. We do have to make sure that it's really pretty watertight so that, you know, no water gets into the system space, whether it's raining or there's lots of water, you know, we're getting pooped. It's a nice big hatch. There's room for this door to be open. The door to the doghouse can be open, and this thing can be open at the same time. But otherwise, it's time to cut the hole here. It's going to be a nice big hole right in the middle of the cockpit sole. So here we go.
I'm building gutters to catch water that falls into the cockpit. They'll have a lot of capacity and big drains to evacuate water quickly.
All right, so the next project is building the gutters that are going to go underneath the hatch that's in the cockpit. The gutter will go all the way around the perimeter of the hatch. And just like last year when I built the gutters that they're in the cockpit sole or in the cockpit benches, I just built a mold on the table. This is it's a male mold, so this is the inside of the gutter, and I'm building the gutter around the mold. I've already built one, and this is going to be the second length of it, and I'm just chopping it up into pieces to make that gutter that goes all the way around the hatch. So it's a very simple and fun project, and of course I'll vacuum bag it. So here we go. Next week, we're going to be finishing the hatch up. I'm really excited about how this project is going to turn out. I think it's going to be an excellent addition to the cockpit of the boat. So thank you again for watching. We'll see you next week. We have a couple new Patreons to thank this week. First, thank you to Jakob, who's in Denmark. He is not a boat builder. He's a DIYer. He just got finished building this beautiful new shop for himself. And sounds like he's really into big projects. So thank you very much to Jakob. And then also thank you to Martin, who grew up sailing on the San Francisco Bay Area. He taught sailing for a while. I actually met him here in Port Townsend when he was doing the Race to Alaska with some other friends of mine. They took second place in that Race to Alaska, and he's also done a double-handed Pacific Cup. He races Melges 24s, a very, very active sailor, and hopes to one day sail around the world. So thank you very, very much to Martin and Jakob and everybody who's been helping with this project. We could not do this without you. So see you next week.